The story starts with a family of musicians that lived in Mexico. One day, the musician left his wife and daughter behind to perform around the world and never came back. His wife was heartbroken, but she had a daughter to raise, so she started making shoes, and pretty soon this became a family business. She also banned anyone in her family from playing music so that no one becomes like her husband. Her name was Imelda, and her great-grandson Miguel now lives with her daughter Coco. Even though Coco has a bad memory, Miguel loves spending time with her. He has a big family, and his grandmother, Abuelita, is the one who makes all the decisions. She's a great lady, but she also doesn't allow anyone to play music in her house. But as soon as Miguel leaves his house, he starts singing. After feeding his dog Dante, he likes to spend some time looking at a statue of a legendary singer named Ernesto. Miguel idolizes Ernesto since he ended up becoming a huge star. However, in 1942, while performing his greatest hits, he died after getting crushed by a giant bell. Miguel goes to the mausoleum every day to pay respects and look at Ernesto's guitar. He then goes to the town square where he's shining the shoe of a musician when he learns that a contest is being held in the square to celebrate the Day of the Dead. The musician urges him to sign up for the competition and even hands his guitar to Miguel to see how well he can play. But before Miguel can even play a single note, Abuelita gets there and beats the musician for spoiling her grandson. She then takes Miguel home and tells his parents that he was trying to play music. Miguel tells everyone that he just wants to sign up for the talent contest that's happening in the town square. However, Abuelita drags him to the altar and explains that tonight their ancestors will visit them, and he should stay home to celebrate the Day of the Dead with his family. She's talking about how the ancestors can't come to their world if their photos aren't displayed on the altar when Miguel sneaks out of the room. He goes to an old attic to fix his guitar. Dante finds him there, and together they watch videos of Ernesto. Miguel has learned how to play guitar by watching these videos, and after hearing Ernesto say some inspiring words in an interview, Miguel decides to sign up for the contest. He tries to sneak out of his house, but his family members are everywhere, and he has to hide his guitar under the altar. He's worried about getting caught, but Abuelita tells him he's ready to make shoes, and his parents even congratulate him on that. After they leave, however, Miguel notices Dante eating the food from the altar. He tries to drag the dog away and ends up knocking down the picture of Imelda. He grabs the photograph to find that his grandfather had the same guitar as Ernesto. He wonders if Ernesto was his mysterious great-grandfather, and his suspicions are supported by Coco, who also recognizes that guitar. He immediately gets on top of the roof and tells his family that he is going to be a musician, just like his great-grandpa Ernesto. Obviously, this angers Abuelita, and she tries to reason with him. But when Miguel talks back to her, she ends up breaking his guitar. This really hurts Miguel, and he runs away from the house and he goes to the town square. He tries to sign up for the contest, but he's told that he needs his own guitar to join. He's walking around aimlessly when he gets an idea after looking at Ernesto's statue. He runs to the graveyard and breaks into Ernesto's mausoleum. He apologizes to Ernesto for borrowing his guitar, but as soon as he strums the guitar, people run into the mausoleum. Miguel thinks he's gonna get caught, but to his horror, no one can see him, and he can even pass through other people. His confusion turns to fear when he sees a ghost. He quickly hides behind a tombstone and sees that there are ghosts all around him. To his relief, Dante can still see him, and when he tries to run after his dog, he bumps into another ghost. This ghost turns out to be his ancestor, and soon he notices that all of his ancestors are there. They're happy to see him, but they realize that something is wrong with Miguel. They decide to take him back to the world of the dead to find a solution for his condition. Miguel hesitantly crosses the bridge to see a marvelous city where spirit creatures are flying freely. After getting off the bridge, he notices a man who's unable to cross the bridge since his photo wasn't placed on the altar. Miguel's ancestors explain his condition to the guard, who takes them all to the immigration office. There, Miguel meets Imelda, who is also really confused to see him. They're all taken to an officer who tells them that Imelda couldn't cross the bridge because Miguel had removed her picture from the altar. He also tells Miguel that he has to return to his world by sunrise or he will become a ghost as well. Luckily, he just needs the permission of any of his ancestors to go back, and Imelda agrees to give him her blessing. However, she doesn't want him to play music once he goes back. It turns out that she can place any kind of condition she wants for his return, and Miguel has no choice but to agree. So he grabs the pedal from her hand and immediately finds himself back in the mausoleum. He grabs Ernesto's guitar once again, but instantly gets transported to the world of the dead. It becomes clear that he can't break the promise he makes to go back, so he begs Imelda to not stop him from playing music, but she doesn't listen to him. This is when Miguel realizes that he can also get Ernesto's blessing since he's also Miguel's descendant. So he leaves the room and covers his face to sneak out of the immigration office. He follows Dante into a room where a man who is trying to forcefully cross the bridge is being reprimanded by an officer. The man claims to know Ernesto, so when he leaves the office, Miguel corners him and explains why he needs to meet Ernesto. The man, whose name is Hector, says that they can both help each other. While they're talking, Miguel stops Imelda and he runs out of there with Hector. While Imelda uses her spirit creature to hunt him, Hector uses some makeup to turn the kid into a ghost. He says that he will introduce Miguel to Ernesto if Miguel promises to put his picture on an altar after going back to his world. After Miguel agrees, the two of them leave to see Ernesto. Hector shows the kid where Ernesto will perform at sunrise before taking him to a place where Ernesto likes to rehearse before his concert. He knows a costume designer who lets them both in, and while Hector's arguing with her, Miguel once again has to run after Dante and he ends up in a room with an actress. She shows him her act and asks how she can improve it. Miguel is telling her to put some music behind her act when he learns that Ernesto isn't rehearsing since he's at his party. Miguel gives this information to Hector, but some musicians tell them that only VIP guests can enter that party. However, if you win the contest that's being held in the town square, you will be allowed to enter. Miguel thinks this is his only chance, and he asks Hector to find a guitar. So Hector takes him to the slums where the people who have been forgotten by their families live. The two of them enter a shack where Hector asks an old man to let him borrow his guitar. The old man is groggy and he says that he's fading away. He asks Hector to play the guitar one last time for him. Hector respects his wishes and starts playing a beautiful song that impresses Miguel. However, when the song ends, the old man vanishes from existence. This is when Hector explains that the people who have no one alive to remember them end up vanishing. After getting the guitar, they are on their way to the city square when Hector claims he used to perform with Ernesto, but Miguel doesn't really trust his stories. At the square, Miguel is looking at different performances when Hector tells him to loosen up and let out a scream to get ready for his performance. Pretty soon it's Miguel's turn, so he gets on stage. He's really nervous and people are getting bored, but after letting out a scream, Miguel starts playing one of Ernesto's songs. People are loving his performance and Hector joins him on stage to entertain everyone, but his family has already tracked him down. They aren't able to recognize him due to the makeup, but Miguel can see them, so he drags Hector off the stage. This is when Hector learns that Miguel has more than one ancestor and he begs Miguel to go back ASAP and place his picture on the altar. Otherwise, he will be forgotten by the end of the night. But Miguel is hellbent on meeting Ernesto, so he leaves Hector behind and starts heading for the party. When Imelda appears in front of him, he immediately enters a narrow alley and tells her to stay away from him since she doesn't understand him. Imelda starts singing and explains that she loved music just like him, but she doesn't want him to abandon his family just like her husband did. Miguel once again doesn't like her reasoning, so he keeps walking. He tries to sneak into the party, but the guard throws him out. Just then, he notices the winners of the music contest and begs them to smuggle him into the party. The musicians like the kid, so they take him in, and after getting off the elevator, Miguel can see the magnificent party. He spots Ernesto, but after following him into a giant hall, Miguel realizes he has to find a way to get Ernesto's attention. So he grabs his guitar and starts playing another one of Ernesto's famous songs. Pretty soon, everyone including Ernesto is looking at him, but this is when he falls into the pool. Ernesto immediately jumps after him and takes him out of there. He is surprised when Miguel claims to be his great-great-grandson who needs his help. That night, when Hector is sneaking into the party, Ernesto is busy showing off his talented grandson to all of his friends. The two of them have a great time, and eventually, Ernesto notices that Miguel is turning into a ghost pretty fast, so he grabs a pedal and decides to send him back to his world. But before he can do that, Hector gets there disguised as an artist. Ernesto's surprised to see his old friend, but Hector is mad at him for taking the credit for all the songs that he had written. Miguel is shocked to learn that his idol is a fraud, but he's downright mortified to find out that Ernesto is the one who poisoned Hector when he was trying to get back to his family. Ernesto even used the same scenario in one of his movies. When Hector figures it out, he tries to attack Ernesto, but the security immediately takes him away. Ernesto then turns his attention to Miguel, who just wants to go back home, but Ernesto doesn't want to get his reputation tarnished, so he refuses to give Miguel his blessings. He even claims that sometimes you have to do horrible things to get far in life. Miguel is thrown into a pool inside a cave. He's regretting idolizing Ernesto when Hector comes there to give him a hug. However, Hector is fading away. He says that his daughter Coco is the only one alive to remember him, but unfortunately now even she is starting to forget about him. He used to sing a special song to her, and he just wants to go back to sing that song for her one last time. After hearing the word Coco, Miguel immediately shows him a picture of Imelda and Coco, and this is when Miguel finds out that he is actually Hector's great-great-grandson. This revelation makes him happy since he knows that his ancestor wasn't a murderer but actually a very nice man and a great musician. The two of them are howling like dogs when Dante finds them alongside Imelda. She takes them out of there, and while they're flying away, Miguel notices that Dante is turning into a spirit creature. He even develops wings and is able to fly. Soon, they meet up with the rest of their family, and Imelda gets mad at her husband for putting Miguel's life in danger. She wants nothing to do with Hector, but Miguel explains to her that Hector wanted to get back to his family, but he was poisoned by his own partner and died. Imelda feels some sympathy for him after realizing that he is fading away. She says that she will let Miguel go back home and save Hector if he agrees to never play music again. However, first, they need to get Hector's picture from Ernesto. So that night, all of them enter the arena dressed as actors. They get backstage and start looking for Ernesto, and they find him just around the corner. Some of the family members take care of his guards while Imelda grabs the picture from him, but before she can send Miguel back home, she is transported to the stage. She can see the guards coming for her, so she starts singing to buy some time. She distracts the guards and even hits Ernesto before running away from the stage with the picture. She tells Hector that she loved performing again. She then gives Miguel her blessing to go home, and to his surprise, she doesn't want him to stop singing. Miguel's about to grab the pedal from her hand when Ernesto drags him away from there and threatens to throw him off the stage. While he is confessing his crimes, Miguel's family members turn on the camera and everyone in the arena can see who he really is. After saying that he will do anything to protect his image, he pushes Miguel from the stage. Imelda's spirit creature manages to save Miguel, but Hector's picture is lost. Meanwhile, Ernesto goes back to the stage to find out that everyone knows his secret. People are throwing stuff at him when the spirit creature grabs him and throws him out of the arena. He ends up getting crushed under a bell once again. Miguel, on the other hand, notices that Hector is disappearing. He doesn't want to go back without Hector's picture, but his time is up and Hector tells him to go. After getting back to his world, he quickly runs to his home where Abuelita is waiting for him. She tries to stop him, but he locks himself in Coco's room and tries to make her remember Hector. His efforts are in vain, however, because Coco is unresponsive. At this point, Miguel has almost given up and he starts crying. He then grabs his guitar and starts playing the song that Hector always wanted to play for his daughter. By some miracle, Coco remembers all the lyrics and she even starts to remember everything about her father. It turns out she has kept her father's picture hidden from everyone for all these years. 1 year later, the world knows that Ernesto was a fraud, and Hector is now regarded as the real genius. Miguel, on the other hand, shows his sister the altar where they have placed Coco's picture because she has also passed away. They have Hector's picture there as well, which means he can finally cross the bridge with his daughter and his wife. The ancestors visit the world of the living that night, and they are treated to a live performance by Miguel, who's living his dream. If you enjoyed that recap, I got a good feeling you'll enjoy this one too. Click on the video on your screen for more.